Wardrobe for the Bass Tour Anglers podcast is provided by Coppell Outfitters. Go have an adventure. Visit them online at www.coppelloutfitters.com and on social media at Coppell Outfitters. Our guest today is fishing the Major League Fishing Big 5 Tour in 2021, as well as the BASS Southern Opens. He's earned $500,000 throughout his 10-year career, including 11th place finish on this year's tour in 2020. He's a six-time qualifier for the FLW Tour Championship and is qualified for the Toyota Series Championship. He lists watching the stock market as one of his hobbies, and he's worked in the securities industry. His YouTube channel, Stefan Fishing, provides pro fishing tips, cooking tips, and an amazing story about Bigfoot. You're going to want to check that out. Today, he's going to give us a tour on his 2021 Skeeter FXR bass boat. Please welcome Stefan to the show. I'm not sure where to start, Matt.
You just you've got enough there to talk for like 8 hours. So you tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, I like watching the stock market also. I'm fascinated by it. I've watched it for a long time. Did you ever think you would see the Dow Jones get above 30,000?
In the words of Dave Portnoy, the Barstool sports guy, stocks only go up, right? So under that logic, sure. I'm one that's much more pessimistic when it comes to the financial markets. I think I think the market has definitely been inflated based on monetary policy that the government has taken. And at some point, I think that's going to really come back to negatively affect us, and the market's going to take a pretty good hit. Now, whether that's going to happen in a month or in 3 years, I don't know. So, it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to rocket higher, but man, I really feel like prices are a little overvalued at this point.
Yeah. Correction, I guess, is the word they use, right? Correction. Sure. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay. I wanted to start that off because that is a number back in the days when it was in the low teens and below 10,000. That's a number I didn't imagine it would ever reach, but here we go. 2021. Yeah.
You never know, man. You never know.
Now, our crew is insisting that I ask you about Bigfoot because I was on your channel and I saw the video. And for me, I don't have a Bigfoot sighting, but I do have a UFO sighting, and I'd be happy to compare notes at some point. But
I'll tell you Bigfoot, but I want to hear the UFO story.
Okay.
So, I don't know how much time you want to spend on this, but I did. I kind of regret doing the YouTube video now because it has been something that's sparked some interest, and I've gotten a lot of people have sent me like funny shirts and stuff like that. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not like a Bigfoot guy. I'm not somebody who, I guess I won't sit here and say I don't believe, but I won't sit here and say that he's definitely out there. And it's something that at this point, I wish I almost hadn't seen, because now when if I go out into the woods by myself, I get, that eerie feeling, and I'd rather not have that. But the story is this. I was driving to a tournament with my team partner. At that point, this is, I don't recall the exact year. I'm going to say like 2013, something like that. And it was a summer event here in Wisconsin. We were driving to the Chippewa flowage from my house, which is about a almost 3 hour drive. And we were this was the first day of practice for us. So we left my house, I'm going to say at like 4 a.m, thinking we'd get up there around 7 o'clock. And right in the middle of that drive that I take is a small town called Phillips, Wisconsin. It's about an hour and a half from my house. So I was roughly there around 5:30. And, 5:30 during the summer in Wisconsin, it's not dark by any means, but it's not, the sun's not up either, but you definitely can see. And I was taking a shortcut around the town of Phillips, which just basically just trying to avoid the downtown area. And it's all wooded. It's part of the Chequamegon National Forest. And you're basically on, I don't know, they're not logging roads, but they're not good condition roads either. And it's only a few miles. And I was making a right-hand turn onto another road. And when I did that, probably 100 yards or so in front of us, in the middle of the road was this big black object. And simultaneously, my team partner and I both went, bear, you know, because we see a fair number of bear every year here in northern Wisconsin. And when we said that, the object stood up on 2 feet, looked over its shoulder, and literally ran into the woods on 2 feet. But when I say ran, I'm saying it was like the fastest I've ever seen anything, like an animal in the wild, move. And it wasn't like 30 steps. It took like 3 steps and was into the brush. And the brush there is the thickest brush, you know, it's just, you can't see more than 10 feet into the woods at that point. So, you know, by the time I drove past it, there was no chance of seeing it. And we sat there silent for like probably 30 minutes. And at one point I go, you know, if I didn't know better, and my team partner goes, Bigfoot. And we just looked at each other, and the whole rest of the ride, we were kind of silent. And I didn't, you know, at that point, we just kind of were like, whatever, you know, I don't know what we saw, but whatever. And after that weekend, we came back, and I was talking to my mom on the phone, telling her just what we saw. And she's like, well, have there ever been Bigfoot sightings in Wisconsin? And I've never heard of one, but I Googled it like a silly fool. And when I did that, there's one hotbed area for Bigfoot sightings in Wisconsin, and it's Phillips, Wisconsin. So much so that the town has a nickname for him. They call him Big Phil. And I've never heard of this, never anything, but I guess there's been a lot of other sightings in that area. And, you know, at that point, when I was Googling it, I stumbled upon a website that was called the Bigfoot Researchers Organization, BFRO.com. And you can file a sighting there if you want. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do that. And just because somebody might care. I don't really care, but somebody might care. So when I did that, it was probably a week later, I was sitting at the Chicago Board of Trade at my desk, and the phone rings, and I have no idea who it is, so I didn't answer it. And they left me a message, and I listened to the message, and it was this guy who's like the regional guy for Wisconsin from the BFRO. And he's like, yeah, I want to verify your story before we can put it up on the website. I want to ask you a few questions. You know, I'm going to go up there and camp for 2 weeks. I'm really excited about this. Just call me back. I got nothing going on. Call me whenever. Seriously, I have nothing going on. And I just was like, well, that sounds about right. So that was it. For years, that was it. And then a few years ago, I was driving to a tournament, and I got a call and an email from the Finding Bigfoot executive director or assistant director of the show, and they wanted me to be on it for a Wisconsin episode. And at that point, I kind of was like, you know what, I'm not looking for the two minutes of fame based on this. And I didn't end up doing it. I kind of wish at this point that I had done it, because I think it would have been a good conclusion to the story. But I don't know what I saw. All I can describe it as is it looked like a gorilla. Like, that's what it looked like to me. I even Googled, you know, when I started looking around, I Googled to see if there were any loose gorillas in the area. And there was one in Minnesota like 2 years earlier, got loose from some zoo, but they caught him right away. So as far as I know, there's no gorillas in the woods. Is there Bigfoot? I can't make that call, but I tell you what, I mean, I don't know what else it could have been. It was very, very odd.
Well, I absolutely, there's absolutely no judgment here. And like I said, I think we've all seen things that we don't know what they were. And you know, it's just appreciate you sharing that story for us. Now, one more question before we jump into this boat. Did you really get married on a bass boat?
You did some good background research.
You bet I did.
Yeah, my wife and I, we got married back in 2007. I hope I'm getting that right. We very much love the outdoors, and we were living in Chicago at the time, and we wanted to do something a little different. My favorite place to be is the Hayward, Wisconsin area, which is up in the North Woods region of Wisconsin. It's just beautiful, tons of lakes. And my parents have a cabin up there. So we're like, let's do it up there, but let's do something different. We're going to be on my bass boat. It was my wife, Sarah, and myself, along with the pastor that married us. And then we had, I think 12 pontoon boats that kind of just floated around us during the ceremony that was full of family and friends. We had like 130 people on boats. So it was a pretty cool weekend. We lucked out. The weather was phenomenal. The weekend was phenomenal. It was, you hear people say it was the best wedding ever. It really was the best wedding ever.
Well, she's a great sport. She's a great sport. And I can relate to that also because I came home in the middle of our honeymoon to fish a club tournament because I had a chance at Angler of the Year, turned out finishing second, but she was okay with that. That's when I knew we were good for life,
She's a keeper. You can't let that one go.
Exactly. All right, let's take a look at your rig. If you take us through maybe your co-vehicle, let us see what you're driving, and then take us through the boat.
All right, let me see if I can switch you around here. So this is what I've got. It's a brand new Skeeter FXR 2021 model. It's an FXR 20, the Apex edition, which is basically the highest line model that Skeeter makes. It's got all the bells and whistles in it. You can see I'll start at the rear of the boat here. We've got our 2 power pole blades with the Yamaha SHO 250. Open up the power source in the back here. I'm running my Battleborn batteries for my trolling motor system, so that's 36 volt. I've got an AGM back there that I run all of the electronics and the starting motor off, which a lot of people would question, but I've got the new power pole charge right down in the middle there, and that's like, having that doesn't give me any concern at all with respect to power issues, because that thing will keep me running all day long, keep my batteries fully stocked. If I move up here to the front, I'm running the Lowrance Ghost. This thing is incredible. I ran it last year. It's truly the best trolling motor that I've ever run. I'm really looking forward to getting the active imaging. Lowrance has not sent it to me yet because they know I live in the frozen tundra and I would not be able to get any promotional videos for them through the ice. But I should be getting one soon for the season starting up here. I've got up on the bow, I've got my 2 Lowrance HDS Live 12s mounted on my ProSize Outdoors Deckit mounts, which are fantastic mounts. I've got
could you give us a close look at those mounts? I've heard a lot about those mounts.
Yeah, these are made by Scott Pellegrin up here in Wisconsin. They're super good, super heavy duty. He's an old Air Force guy. He was a helicopter mechanic, and when it comes to designing things, he is phenomenal. All the products at ProSize Outdoors are just well thought out, rock solid. Like, you won't have any issues at all with them. I've got my TH Marine Hydrowave up at the front, and I got to tell you, like, I'm a fan of the Hydrowave. I've had some instances where I feel like the fish react to it. But what I'm super excited to see now is when I have my Hydrowave on, paired up with the active imaging, to see how the fish and the bait fish react to different sounds. Like, to me, that's going to be awesome. I really am looking forward to that.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you a quick question about that Hydrowave, because that is something that is fascinating to me. We've done a little coyote hunting where I live, and we use it seems like the same kind of unit, only it produces various sounds that coyotes supposedly respond to. And I'm fascinated to see how that would work around fish. Are there different frequencies that you use, or different sounds, or different patterns?
Yeah, when you set it, you go through, I don't know the number of settings offhand, but there's like schooling bait fish, spawning bluegill, blue herring. There's like probably 15 different sound settings of natural bait fish, crawfish. So you can set it to mimic the sounds of each of those different bait fish forms or those forage forms for the fish. And like I said, I've had some, it's one of those things. Can I prove to you 100% that it works? I can't prove it to you, but I can show you, I can take you out, we can run it, and you'll see things happen that I don't feel like happen when I'm not running it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's a tool. I use it. I believe in it. I think it helps me in most instances.
And it will be cool to look at the live image and see what's going on down there when that thing is in operation.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that. You know, I guess I've seen the Garmin Panoptics before. I've never owned one, but you know, to be able to see now with the active imaging for my own eyes, to see how those fish are responding to the different sounds from that hydro wave, I think it'll be cool. Like, I haven't heard anyone really talk about it at all, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be something that really can become a helpful tool. If you can figure out, if you can see how those fish are responding, it's only going to make you a better fisherman to read what the fish are doing. If they become more aggressive or if they vacate the area, you can figure it out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, please continue. I have a habit of interrupting whenever I see something I want to ask about.
That's fine. That's what I used to do in the financial markets. I was an investigator, so I like to ask a lot of questions.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So taking you up here to the cockpit, again, we've got our dual mounted Lowrance HES Live 12s, again, on a Deckit mount by ProSize Outdoors. You know, really the boat comes with everything. It's got lighting on the front deck. It's got the securities systems on the top here. I'm trying to think. I mean, you know, stereo, all that. It's a fully loaded boat. Then we get back here to the rear end again, and we are closing up the tour. But I'm excited to run it. You know, the Skeeter, when they came out with the FXR model, was it 2 years ago now, I guess? They really just became like the absolute cream of the crop, in my opinion. You know, for several years prior, I've only run Skeeters. My first boat was 2003, and I've had a whole bunch of them since then. And until the FXR model, there were always kind of one or two things where I was like, you know, I wish I saw this on another boat. I wish they would do it on this boat. And when they came out with the FXR, everything that I've seen on other boats that I would have liked in my boats is in this boat. There's literally nothing at this point that I go, I wish we had.
That's very cool. Any chance we could get you to get up on the deck and maybe show us what the lockers look like and stuff? Unless you got some secrets hidden in there or anything.
No, I don't. Like the boat at this point is, let me switch it over, is brand new. It hasn't been in the water or anything. So I don't have much in here. It comes standard with these pull out trays. You can see you can pull out like a whole set of trays.
Yeah.
In the boxes. I normally end up taking that stuff out because I want to maximize the amount of tackle I can carry, and I can get a few extra boxes in if I take those big trays out. It comes standard with a net. You know, it's just one of those nice little things to have. You can fit, I don't know if you can see it. There's
I can see that.
You can fit you can fit more rods along the sides if you want to. Nice little feature, although I don't have any issue at all with rod locker space. And in this case, you can see I've still got my butt seats and some stuff from the factory, but they've got this, let's see if I can move this. They've got this nice stacking system here where you can put your rod butts. And then down at the end, they've just got one large hole so you can slide all your rods to the end. They used to have separate rod tubes that just kind of became more cumbersome on you because you couldn't fit as many rods in the rod tubes. Again, another rod box. If you want to use this for rod storage, you can. I use this one normally for like life jackets and first aid kits and stuff like that. And then like my favorite box in the whole boat is this little day box. Comes with some organizers in it. But this is where I keep like all of the tackle that I know I'm going to be using for that day. So it's super handy. I can just reach down and grab a bag of plastics, or I keep like scissors and just things I use on a daily time out on the water. And then this is just more access to get down to the rods if you do use it for rod storage. So that's the front deck. Pretty standard. We got another nice little kind of day box type thing here. This is, what I use. I use that to keep like valuables and just tools, some simple tools that I use. Then we got our first cooler. You can see I still got some stuff from the factory in there, but this is just another cooler box, but it's also access to the bottom of the boat. If you pull it out, you can get to the bottom of the boat, which is really nice and handy. So that's the first cooler. We got another cooler between the seats. This is the one that I use for my drinks and stuff. The one in the floor, I use more for storage than anything. And bringing you back here to the back deck, again, one of the things that they did with the FXR edition that I love is the whole back flips up, and it's a divided lid. So to access the batteries is so easy right now. There's no issues in terms of getting back into those areas, which is really, really nice. And then we've got just a couple more nice, good sized storage compartments on both sides. And then one of the things I love about Skeeters are these really large live wells. Got a small opening so that fish aren't jumping all over the place. But I mean, it's a really big live well that comes with a divider in the middle. So it's one system, but there's two different pumps. So if you do have issues with one of the pumps, you can still fill up your entire live well system and have both sides going. Really works nice. I like that. At first, I wasn't so sure about having one single tank for your live well, but I've really grown to like that. And then just another storage compartment here. And that's pretty much the boat as a whole. One of the things that I really, really like are these handles on the seats. They're absolutely rock solid, but you can get up and down, and around the boat so easily with these. It's really nice to have that versus grabbing the cushions of the seat. So that's it. I mean, in the cockpit itself is nothing super crazy. I mean, I've got my blinker trims for the Atlas jack plate and my trim. And I'm trying to see, I got my hot foot. I'm a hot foot guy. Mm-hmm. I know some people are not hot foot fans, but I got to tell you, I think it's pretty crazy not to have a hot foot myself.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. I think two hands on the wheel is a good thing.
Yeah, I just from a straight safety standpoint, when I'm running big water, I want to have my hands on the wheel. If I'm running at 70 miles an hour, I want to have my hands on the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, that was good. That was a lot of fun. We appreciate that. You're fishing the inaugural Big Five tour this year. Last year was the FLW tour, but they're calling it the Big Five this year. And yep. I just saw they just announced the roster, I think about a month or so ago. Man, there are some killers fishing that tour.
Yeah, it's super competitive. I know, I mean, so to me, it doesn't feel any different. It's a name change really is what it feels like. From an angler standpoint, the competition is really stiff. It's always been really stiff. I mean, most of the guys, like I guess for me, I've been around, this is going to be my 11th year, and I've pretty much fished against at one point or another every professional angler out there. So to have some of the guys coming down from the BPT tour, I really like, because one, some of the guys I know and I've known for years, and they recently moved away, so I haven't seen them in a while. But two, I want to fish against the best. I want to prove that I can beat the best. So, to have a lot of the best anglers in the world coming down and up. You know, when I look at the roster, there are some serious sticks that are coming up from the Toyota series. So, you know, almost I really think some of the quality of those guys coming up to our level is every bit as good as the guys that are, you know, coming down from the BPT tour. And I don't think they've been getting enough exposure because they really are some very good fishermen. But, you know, across the board, it's a tough circuit to fish. I mean, we've got 166 guys for next year. So if you want to do well and qualify for the championships, I mean, you're going to have to be in the top, you know, better than probably like the top 27% or something like that, top 30%. So it's by no means an easy feat to compete with them. And, you know, having them come down, it only makes it more difficult. But I'm hoping personally that it to have a lot of the big name guys come back to us will only give us more credibility, which, you know, makes us more marketable to sponsors, makes the guys who are fishing it more marketable to sponsors, and gives us a little bit more credibility to the fans. Because right now I think a lot of the fans are questioning the level of the pro circuit.
Well, that's what I was saying. When I looked at that roster, and I think I got through the A's, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you know, these are there's a lot of household names on that list," and I think that's going to be a really strong field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm very much looking forward to getting down to Florida, and it's probably 3 or 4 weeks at this point, and getting back on the water. It's, you know, a lot of the other circuits haven't been finished for a while, but we finished our season in August last year, so I'm ready to roll at this point. I'm itching to get back out there.
Any more cooking videos coming up? Because that was pretty good.
Oh man, I tell you, so the YouTube thing is still pretty new to me. I started earlier this year with doing some tournament recaps, and I've really picked it up now in the last 3 months. I'm putting out a video every other day. Most of them are tips related, tackle related. Like today I put out a video on how to add a clacker to a Berkeley Chapo topwater bait.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to do some stuff that's a little bit different or isn't really covered nearly as much. And the cooking video all comes down to a device that my buddy had just told me about called a sous vide. And I cook a lot. Like, I pay attention to what's going on, and I've never heard of this, like cooking in a water bath, basically. And he goes, "Matt, if you ever make a steak or a roast, you got to try it." And it just so happened it worked out where he loaned it to me to try. And I'll tell you what, I cooked a prime rib roast that was as good as any rib roast that I've ever had. And it was easier than anything else I've ever cooked. Cleanup wise is super easy. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't heard of this. I'm going to make a video on it. I'm sure a lot of other people haven't heard about it. And just from the YouTube standpoint, I was like, you know what? It'll be a little change of pace. And I just kind of want to see how that does versus some of my fishing stuff. And it's been one of my best videos at this point. So maybe you'll see more in the future. I don't know. I don't plan on switching over to like a cooking channel, but I love to cook. I love to eat. And it just was something a little different.
Well, my wife walked through the room when I was watching that, and she stopped in her tracks, and she sat there and watched a Bass Pro talk. So I'm just
I thought that's what everyone is doing right now, right? They're doing their catch and cook videos, and they're, you know, it seems like every pro angler out there's got a Traeger deal, and they're cooking on their Traeger grill. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a catch and cook where I catch my prime rib roast at the grocery store and cook it at home like normal.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, thanks for being with us today. This was a lot of fun. And I will look forward to being in touch and watching you this season.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. I had a lot of fun too. And you know what, doing things like these are what get me through the winter. So I appreciate you reaching out to me, and this was great.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye. Wardrobe for the Bass Tour Anglers podcast is provided by Cockpit Outfitters. Go have an adventure. Visit them online at www.cockpitoutfitters.com and on social media at Cockpit Outfitters.